As kids, we often have a wild imagination. We envision fascinating and exhilarating worlds that nobody else has discovered, creatures that are both friendly and monsters that want to eat us. Environments that are impossible by theory, but interesting to explore, but as we grow older, we have to leave these creations in the distant past. A place we feel that is nostalgic and forever only in our memories. However, what if I could tell you that you could visit a place just like this? A world that is so beautiful and so alien that it would take your breath away. You will feel both like a scientist discovering never-before-seen landscapes, creatures, and plants, but at the same time, you have that childlike wonder, gaining new abilities and gear to travel a dangerous and hilariously fun world. Well, you can, and this is my review of Journey to the Savage Planet. First off, I want to start off by saying thank you to 505 Games and Wanacott Communications for providing me with this review code, but with that said, let's get right into the review. At heart, Journey to the Savage Planet is a first-person adventure and exploration game that you can either play solo or even two-player online co-op, but by simply labeling it as just that would be a bit of an understatement, as there is so much more here. While yes, you do have a gun that you must use in combat from time to time, and you do travel across a gorgeous-looking planet to discover all kinds of new species, plants, and landscapes, it also plays very similar to a Metroidvania-style game, and that is something that I wasn't expecting. See, at the beginning of the game, you are dropped onto an uncharted planet with little to no plans whatsoever and no equipment. You are the fourth best interstellar exploration company after all, which this does show, as surely the first, second, or third is a little bit more prepared, but luckily you have a 3D printer at your disposal, which you will make plenty use of. As you explore this uninhabited planet with a big question mark on the uninhabited part, you then gain resources to build new equipment, which can give you new abilities. These new abilities may involve using a double jump, a grappling hook, or even giving you access to carry around an assortment of plant seeds with their own unique properties, such as an explosion. This in return will allow you to travel to new locations that you currently was not able to access, similar to something like Metroidvania-style games. And Journey to the Savage Planet does have 4 unique and very distinctive biomes to explore with their own wildlife and obstacles to overcome. Though by charting new locations and gaining new abilities, you can then progress further and further. Though unlike many other Metroidvania games where you are kind of walking around a little clueless as to where to go next, in Journey to the Savage Planet you always have a primary mission that is marked on your map, and because of that, there isn't one time in this game that I ever felt lost. Honestly, the developers did an incredible job by always giving you an objective that never really feels like a chore, and even gaining resources to upgrade or unlock new equipment was easy to do. Then there is the 4 different biomes that I just mentioned that you can freely explore, much like an open world sandbox, and this is actually one of the prettiest games I've ever played, and I've played a lot of games. The colors are very vibrant and has a playful art style to it, and I think it's actually better this way. It's very refreshing, as I do feel like a lot of first-person games are more gritty and brown, but everywhere you turn in Journey to the Savage Planet, you see super colorful and lush landscapes, and that right there is the thing that makes this game so special. It is one of the most creative games I've seen in a long time, and I love seeing each new environment, whether that be snowy mountains, lush forest, creepy caves, or even flowing owl rocks. The developers at Typhoon didn't just give you any old world to explore. They instead put you into an atmosphere of an alien planet that you want to explore. They even give you a scanner to document new species, objects, and plants, and I gladly did this because it was always such a joy in reading or hearing the narration of how they were documented. And that is something I haven't mentioned yet, but Journey to the Savage Planet is hilariously fun. It is a game that is constantly joking and poking fun. This is evident from the get-go, as you are the 4th best interstellar company with no plan whatsoever and have full expectations in their explorers dying, but in the name of science. As you enter your ship, the Javelin, where you upgrade your equipment and acts much like a hub world, you are always greeted by a wacky video, and they're both funny and clever. There is a story here, though it never really feels like it takes itself too serious, and it's absolutely hilarious. I think that the sense of humor in this game is one of the best I've seen in all games. Right away, you do realize you are not involved with the smartest company in the world, and even at the beginning of the game, it asks you to show a picture of yourself, with each character looking absolutely insane. I actually thought this was a joke, so I chose the picture of a dog, only to find out afterwards that when I jumped and ran, I would grunt and pant like a dog. So yes, I wasn't only the first human to visit this uncharted planet, but actually, I was the first dog to investigate this planet. This game always has this lighthearted, charming sense of humor to it, and even your companion will be picking on you as you play. It almost reminds me of GLaDOS from Portal and how antagonizing this companion is. Now there is also several other aspects to Journey to the Savage Planet. Of course, I mentioned it is a Metroidvania style game, and as any good Metroidvania game, there is a heavy emphasis on platforming, which really shocked me. This is actually, in my opinion, one of the most fun parts of this game, jumping from platform to platform. And it's not like you're just going through the motions. It is a lot of fun, and at times you will be dodging obstacles or ziplining from rail to rail. And like any good 3D platformer, there is plenty of hidden secrets across the world with several items to collect and find. There's these little orange blobs as an example that you can find to increase both your health and stamina, which is useful for fighting off the more aggressive alien creatures inhabiting the planet, which leads me to Journey's next big focus point. As you've probably noticed by this point, Journey to the Savage Planet is a first-person shooter as well, though there is only one gun in the game. You can upgrade this gun to have both a charge shot as well as increasing its power, but this trusty little pistol will be with you from beginning to end. You do have items you can throw with your left hand as well, which can range from bombs to bait, and even seeds to zap your enemies with. The thing is, I actually feel like the combat in Journey to the Savage Planet is its weakest point. I think the creatures are beautifully designed with a lot of character behind them, but most of the world seems to be non-aggressive animals unless you provoke them. This is primarily the puffin birds that are relatively weak, but they do have several variants such as the regular kind, an explosive species, or even a species with armor. There is some aggressive creatures as well, such as the flying-looking jellyfish, but they, for the most part, never really offered me a challenge, but more they're just a nuisance. There is some more difficult species as well, but even then, because the gun mechanics felt slightly off, I had a hard time with shooting with precision, and it became a little irritating fighting some of the more difficult enemies, which relies on you shooting specific body parts. That's not to say that the combat is bad, because it isn't, but I did enjoy the platforming and exploration components much more. Luckily, there is a really good mix of all three of these components. I mean, there's plenty of exploration, there's plenty of platforming, and then you also have combat as well, so I think that it's mixed up really well here. If you do die though, you then will lose your resources and be reprinted at the Javelin. If you want to get your resources back, you must reach your previous location and find where you died, similar to something like Dark Souls. However, the combat is at its best when fighting a boss-style enemy. In each biome you explore, once you reach the end of this biome, you are met with a giant creature that will keep you from accessing the next location. You then must use all that you have learned to destroy this boss that acts more like a puzzle as you use specific gear that you have unlocked or gained. This kind of reminds me of how Zelda bosses work, where you can't just beat your enemies with brute force, but rather you have to also outwit your opponent. This is when I found Journey's combat to be the most fun and exhilarating. And to that statement, I think that as a whole, Journey to the Savage Planet is both fun and exhilarating. It somehow unlocks your childlike imagination through exploration, the beautiful and creative world with alien creatures. It keeps you engaged by introducing you to new mechanics, gear, and abilities, while also having a great sense of humor. While the combat isn't its strong suit, I think it's serviceable, and I did find the bosses to be both well designed and exciting. Typhoon Studios didn't just create a beautiful world to explore. It's so much more than that. You can beat this game in roughly 8 to 10 hours, but because it's so good, and there are still so many secrets to find, I can't wait to play this game more. That's something that I don't usually do in games, but I absolutely love this game, and I would highly recommend it.